This is All the Things with Michelle Wolfe.
All right, welcome to this is my Behind the Music mixtape series. It's so good to have everybody here. So these are the authors, well, these are a few of the authors who have joined on to this collaborative project. Our book is out today on Amazon, Mixtape Memories. You can find it. You can also find it on my website, michellewolf.me/books. And there is a guide that, like a workbook guide that accompanies this that kind of just helps you um, work through your own like personal playlist and the songs that mean so much to you. Um, so all of that's available on my website, and the book is available on Amazon right now and will hopefully be coming out in other platforms soon. So, hi everybody. Thank you for being here. This is our first gathering as the group of the creators of this project. So it's nice to see you all in this creative space. Um, so I would like to go around and, give everybody a chance to introduce themselves and the song that they chose for their chapter, and just maybe like a quick little snippet of, like why that song. Um, I will say that for me, this project, it started off with, you know, just cathartic. Like I had already been thinking about the song Crawling. That was the first song that really came to me as the one that I wanted to write about, just because of like my PTSD journey and the healing that has come from that, and just how cathartic rage music is, and how I feel like so many people are afraid of it, but like in used in right time and space, like it can really help you like process hard things. And so that chapter, I probably wrote that in one sitting. And then I like couldn't come back to it. And I know that some of you know that process because it was just really emotional. It was like, okay, I don't think I could go there again, you know? But then in the coming back was really cathartic as well, because it was like, oh, I can revisit this. And it was like reading it from a different space.
Yeah.
Um, and I think that I heard that as like the editor of this and reading your chapters, which I was so touched. I feel like everybody like really went there. Um, so I feel like, I got to go on that journey with all of you. So yeah, that was one of my first chapters. And then the rest of them were kind of like processing some heartbreak and, whatever I was going through in my life and my nostalgia with my kids. And yeah. So who wants to go next?
Mhm. I can go. I
Okay.
can go. Hi, I'm Denise, everybody. Nice to meet
Hey.
you. Um, my chapter is I Saw Her Standing There, and it's a Beatles song. I was born in 1955, so I'm of a certain age. And music has been, for me, just such an important part of my life. I have a very eclectic taste in music, and I'm proud to say I've passed that on to my kids, and they have passed it on to my daughter has three children, and she has passed the love of music on to them, and I just couldn't be prouder of the fact that they get to enjoy music the way I have. And it's not only for enjoyment for me, but as Michelle touched upon, it's been very healing part of my life. As a matter of fact, at one point I was in a doctoral program and my thesis was going to be about the healing transformative power of writing. So I did all this research, never finished the program, but
Oh, I love that though.
but writing and music have been just two pillars really in my life. And I chose the Beatles song because I lost both of my parents pretty young, my dad especially young. And when we got that stereo, some of you know the story if you've read it, but that was just like such a pivotal moment in my memory. And so I wanted to go back there, and it was a little sad, in some ways, a little bittersweet to look back at that and the relationship that I had with a was one of my girl friends, my best friend really. So I was able to revisit that as well, and so it was just really beautiful to be able to do that. So thank you, Michelle, for giving all of us the opportunity, to take
Yes.
part in this. I think
Yeah.
it's a really
Your chapter
meaningful.
was really sweet to read. Like
uh,
it reminded me of being a little girl, like with my friends and putting on music and like dancing and making up, plays and things to it. Like it just you really like brought that innocence, which I loved.
Yeah, well, that and revisiting that feeling, that child, that childlike abandon or whatever that I
Hmm.
think we do abandon as adults, put me back there, and so it was really nice. And there was another song that I really wanted to write about, but I didn't think emotionally I was ready to write it, so maybe that'll be for part two.
I
So,
mean, I definitely want
I'd
to do
love
a
to see a
volume
part two.
two.
I'd love to see you
yeah.
do that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks.
It doesn't
Thanks. I think
surprise
I
me.
think that's about it as far unless there was something I missed that you wanted me to share.
No,
But
that's
oh,
it. Thank
okay.
you. Thank
All
you.
right. You're welcome.
It doesn't surprise me that there are probably quite a few of us that are already percolating on, another song or another artist
I
that
love to hear that because I already have some in my, I mean, there were plenty that I didn't write that I was like,
Oh, sure.
which one, so I'm like, yeah, volume two.
exactly. I watched a movie today and the song just it literally smacked me in the face like how did you forget this song from your
What song was it?
native son,
I've
Nat
never heard that.
King Cole.
Oh, I
Mm.
love Nat King Cole, and
It
I've never heard that.
it's the one that's about a boy, a strange enchanted boy who travels very far. And the last line of the song, the greatest thing you'll ever learn is just to love and be loved in return.
Love it.
And it's such a beautiful song. Yeah.
I love that.
I do
Next
too.
time. Yeah.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. All right. Who wants to go next?
I'll go next.
That's one.
Okay.
So my name is Valerie, and my song was Demons by Imagine Dragons. If you have heard the song, it's really about just the courage of, fighting and facing your mental health struggles. And I saw them live, and the lead guitarist, I mentioned him in the book, he talked about the importance of receiving support, with your mental health. And he just like really normalized mental health struggles because for me growing up, the story that I internalized and what I was so conditioned to believe was when you're successful, when you have XYZ, when you have these credentials, everything's going to be okay. And everything will just your life is just smooth sailing after you get these credentials or you're successful, and that just stops you from having emotional trouble. And obviously it does not, as we all know, as we've all been accomplished people in our lives. And so I just absolutely loved his just framing around that, and it just like really came to me like my soul lesson is like one of my soul lessons is you cannot get that safety externally. It can only come internally. And I'm continuously revisiting that soul lesson. And, as I am a coach who helps clients overcome and heal from CPTSD, and I specialize in anxious attachment. And so it's just like deeply sacred and special to me as I went through a really, really difficult time. I had chronic pain for 6 years. And then once I started to work on my mental health and really getting to the root of things, that's when things started to clear up for me and the chronic pain went away. And so that's really what my chapter was about, is working with the body, getting into somatics, and sharing more about my anxiety journey and how much demons really helped me in getting that support and helping me realize that soul lesson.
And we just had our conversation, so if you guys end up listening to it, but one of the things that we talked about was, I mean, like, I love that you chose that song because it was one on my list that I was like, I wish I could write about, but I had so many already. And I felt like that and Crawling for me were kind of similar theme, although you touch on it much more in like from the embodiment standpoint and somatics of it, which I love. And I love that you get into um, the part about normalizing it because, I kind of feel like that's even like what we're doing with these stories that we're sharing. Like we're sharing our experiences in various forms. People see themselves identify in those stories. And so it's just so powerful. So thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you for allowing me to be a part of this collaboration. It's what I've been manifesting for years of like collaborating on a book.
Same.
Yeah, so it's so special. So thank you, Michelle.
Yeah. Who else wants to go?
I can go.
Okay.
So I'm Scott. This for me was a little more interesting, I think, coming from I'm also a musician, evident by all of this. I write songs, my own songs, lyrics, music, and all that. So the song I picked was called Maybe It's Just Me by an artist named Butch Walker. And Butch is more known as like a producer these days. He's done stuff for Katy Perry and Pink and Green Day and Fall Out Boy, and like that's what he refers to as his day job, which affords him the luxury to go and perform on his own. So the song Maybe It's Just Me is about recognizing the fact that maybe the best thing for that other person in your life that is a romantic relationship, or this is written from the standpoint or the viewpoint of a romantic relationship, but it's realizing that the best thing for that person might not be having you in their life, and coming to that sort of realization. And there's a line in it, the whole song kind of paints this picture about this relationship and kind of the arc of it. And it's maybe, you'll be happier without me. And if that's what makes you happy, then I can deal with it. But it's really kind of like a hard thing to come to. And I think anybody who's been in a relationship, whether it's romantic or even friendship in some points, sometimes the best thing for the both of you is to just not associate anymore, even though it can kind of be hurtful. So as someone who does struggle with anxiety and like panic and that sort of thing, so I understand that sort of feeling in a person, and I've written about it myself. And I just think he is very, if you ever see him live, it's a very like honest type of show. And he'll, the best show I've seen, he made everybody in the club sit down, and he came off the stage and sat down in the middle of the floor with an acoustic guitar, no microphones, and just sang this song to everybody.
That's
And you could hear
awesome.
a pin drop in the club. It was 500 or 600 people in this place, and it was dead silent. So somebody who can connect lyrically and musically with their audience is something I kind of aspire to, and that's why I wanted to write about some of his work.
I love that you chose that song, and it's such a good one, and it's such a nuanced like way of doing relationship.
Yeah.
Because I feel like it is like a deep, like coming from a deeply loving place where love is not about possession. Like I mean, that like when I read it, but also like that's kind of what I was also going through in my world. So like love is not about possession. So, can I love people and let them go and let them be who they are? And maybe that isn't to be with me or to be in my life. Like it's okay that we can like diverge. And, we could even get into the spirituality of like, how will do we ever really though? Like, are we always just walking together?
And the sacrifice of one's own happiness to sustain that of someone else. And that's kind of a big
Yeah, that's deep.
thing to realize for yourself and for like that sort of relationship, or however it may end up.
To love someone like that.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah, that was a
Recommend
good
everybody
one.
listen to the song. He's great, great writer.
Yeah, I'm glad you included them. Thank you.
Yeah.
And thank you for being a part of this project. You guys don't know this, but I've known Scott since we were in middle school.
Oh, cool.
So, and it's been so cool to just like see our, our evolution as like humans
Together.
who've been walking this this path for a while.
Since over 20 years, 13 or
Yeah.
something. Like I should have brought down the middle school yearbook and held up the picture, but I don't need to do that to
Let's
either of
not
us
do
at this
that.
point. Yeah, no. I wasn't bald in elementary school, in middle school, so surprise, surprise.
All right, who's next?
I'll go.
Okay.
All right. I'm Elizabeth Bond, and the song I chose is Skylarking. It's a song by an artist who passed away, Mick Christopher. He isn't that well known, but he was on the cusp of becoming something when he slipped and fell, hit his head, went into a coma, and passed away a few weeks after that. It was through a friend in Ireland and through the band The Frames that I became a fan of Mick Christopher. And in my story, it weaves the tale of hearing the Frames performing Mick Christopher's song, which they do on a regular basis during their shows, as a tribute because Glenn and he were best mates. And it's also a song that's come back to me in my life. And thankfully, Michelle, when she was, I guess, mentioning at the very end how excited she was about this project, and I DM'd her and I said, "Oh, I'm sorry, I missed this because I have the best story." It's one of those like, I've been holding on to this. I tell my, music junkie friends, but other than that, I've never had an opportunity. And she said, "Get it to me, get it to me. It sounds like it's one we need to hear." And oh boy, did I.
You had it right away.
I didn't want to lose the opportunity because, as you know from the story, a few years after we saw this performance on a stage in Ireland, I'm in Philadelphia, and when the Frames or Glenn Hansard will come to the States, at least back before, I don't know, maybe they're lately he's been playing a lot with, say, Pearl Jam or Eddie Vedder, so he's gotten more and more attention. But when I saw him last, I was able to chat with him as I've done periodically, and I let him know that I followed his vibe and was still singing the song from the Electric Picnic because none of us wanted the concert and the experience of this festival to end. And he teared up and I teared up because it was a shared moment that I don't it's so hard to put into words. I did my best. It's when that deep of a connection happens with that many people that feel that strongly about music. And in the revisiting of the song and the lyrics, I found out that I had completely misinterpreted the song entirely, and that the song completely expressed everything I was going through in my own awakening in my life at, 49 turning 50 and realizing that my true purpose was nowhere near what I had thought it was, and that there's so much more to our lives if we just let go and find that childlike person inside of us. So that's my very autistic ADHD way of explaining a story
So
that I
very
didn't want to give
simple.
everything away on, but wanted to kind of tempt our friends who haven't read the book yet to read it.
I love how you put it. And it's so very simple. And yet, letting go is like one of the hardest things.
Oh, wow. It really is. And you and I have had such a feeling of parallel spiritual, there are times I feel as if I'm right behind you and I'm watching and I'm just like, oh man, that looks so good right there.
I'm glad that it looks that way.
Yeah.
I wanted to say something though about what you said about the artist and the connection. Like that, one of the things that I do hope for this book is that, some of the artists who wrote these songs, I would love it. Like if they would get a hold of them and read the chapter and feel the impact. Like I know that they get lots of fan mail from people and maybe it's just one more thing, but you know, for me, like some of these songs have gotten me through some really difficult times. And like you said, like you have that like moment of connection. I know it means a lot to me when people will message me and tell me that like something that I've written or a poem or something that I've shared is like has touched them in some way that, whatever. Like that's why I share. I want to like connect and touch people. And so, I love that. And I like that's the intention here is like that would be an awesome full circle experience for this whole thing. Because it really started with them creating the music, the song, right? And then like us having the experience and the story to share. So,
100%.
all right, who's next?
I'll go next.
Okay.
Okay. I wanted to touch on what she said too, because she said you sometimes you hear the lyrics differently. So I learned that I hear the lyrics differently, the healed version of me versus the sad version of me. So I loved what you said about that, hearing it different. So and I want to thank you, Michelle, because God has been telling me to write a book, write a book. Hey, you got a lot to say. And I will not write the book. I did not want to write a book, did not want to do anything. And you, luckily for me, put out this, hey, do you want to do this? And I definitely did. And then because of that, I'm doing my own thing and I'm so grateful because I know
I
I've already
love
told
that.
you, but I have no reason to share like in my mind, I'm like, I don't want to do that. I don't know why I would want, I'm not an author. I definitely couldn't, like I had a hard time reading in school. So I definitely, a book is not what I should be doing, right? But I hear it all the time. Just write it down, write it down. And so when I write things down, I get a lot of attention for it. And so anyway, I'm very, very thankful for you for helping
And yet
me.
your chapter was I mean, you'll talk about it, but
Yeah.
like it was a great addition.
Well, thank you very much. So I did Vice Versa by Pastor Troy, which is a rap song. And I think I'm your only rap song. Um, and it is not what everybody thinks of when they think about that. And if you hear the song, you can take it as inappropriate, but that has been my whole life is I am a disruptor. I know that, and I come in blazing, that way. But I like this chapter because it makes me question everything. The song makes me question everything, what's good, what's bad, and who decided it. And it reminds me not to take life so serious, but to be thankful for just the lessons in life. I have chosen every hard road. The hardest road, that's the one I've chosen. I don't want that for my kids. I don't want that for my friends, but unfortunately, it followed me, right? Um, and I just think God has a purpose for that. And you might find that in the inappropriate song. You might find that in the inappropriate meme or whatever. I get a lot of flack in life for being who I am authentically. And that's why I chose that chapter because I think that you can learn something from people who are different from you. I think you can learn something from the inappropriate lyric that you think, whatever's triggering you, there's a reason it's triggering you, and you should look into it. So that's why I chose that song. Because what
Yes.
if we all decided to do that and decide what is bothering us and why, and we all delve into what that is, what kind of world would this be? Because I know if I saw your pain or your pain through these songs, I know that everybody's just hurting, so
And when you came on, I remember you were like, "Is it okay?" You were like, is this song all right?" And I was like, "Yeah, that song's great." And
well, I thought
I
you were
was
gonna
so
have to edit mine
happy.
because it does cuss and it says something nasty, it
I
does
get
say,
it. Wow.
but in my mind, if you read the lyrics and really read them with uncensored, just intake it, it is a fantastic song and it really makes you question things. So that's
It's
why I
one
chose it.
that I've actually like from a few of the people that have read the book already and then listened to the playlist along with it. They're like, when I got to that song, they were like kind of like thrown a little bit, but I love hearing that because
Yeah.
number one, I love that like this there are songs in here from different genres and different cultural. Like I love the diversity. Um, but I also I'm I identify as being a disruptor
Yeah.
and I
That's
love
why we get along.
there's songs that, are a little bit challenging.
Yeah.
So
That
yeah.
one is one. However, I do think that rap gets a lot of bad credit for not being lyrical. And it's actually, the lyrics are brilliant, actually. And
Yeah.
if you actually listen to it, there are a lot of good, I like old school rap, not new stuff, but the old stuff has a lot of powerful lyrics that people
Yeah.
overlook. And that's why I like that song. But that
Yeah.
one's, I've been listening to that since I was in middle school. And so it's ironic that God is like, write the book, write the book. And that's the song I chose, is about, what God would want you to do and who is God to you.
Yeah, that's a good one. I'm glad that you came on with that one.
I'm very thankful that you allowed me to do it.
Lana, I saw that you joined. We're just going around and just sort of introducing ourselves and like the song that we chose and just maybe like a quick like what was our why for that or what it meant. So who wants to go next? We've only got a few left. Lewis, you want to go?
Yep, I'll go next. I'm from hearing everybody. My name's Lewis, um, and from hearing everybody's descriptions here, I think mine maybe comes off a little different than some of the others. It sounds like most of the ones I've been hearing about from you are songs that had this kind of positive impact on you, and that you identify with, or like identify with, like something that helped you get through something. And mine really about like some terrible dating advice that I got growing up from the songs that I was relying on as a teenager and even pre-teenager in the 70s. And it ended up being I ended up actually mentioning four different songs in it because they each had like a certain point of view that kind of went together in a way, but that set me down like the wrong, I think, in a way, set me down the wrong path. The songs that I'm not sure if anybody will even know these songs because they're of a certain era, but they were all around. One was in the early 70s, and the other three were mid 70s. Day After Day, Badfinger. I like Dreamin', Kenny Nolan. Feels like the first time Foreigner. That's kind of one that's probably the most popular of these. And then Do You Wanna Make Love by Peter McCann. And these songs, particularly the first three, had this idea that the concept of basically like to be to have a winning relationship as a guy, like you only really needed to like think about it, like create this fantasy world of what a relationship would be, and that once you kind of immersed yourself in that these girls or women, whatever, would like appear in your life, and that's basically all you needed to do, and really nothing about like trying to understand what a relationship really is, or how to participate, how to understand someone else, how to communicate, how to actually like find out if this is really a good fit for you or not. It was very much about self-reflection and like being alone in your room, dreaming about this perfect relationship, and then by the way, um, you wake up and she's not there. Like that's really not great advice for someone. And I kind of like came to these, as a teenager, and then look back on them a couple years ago, kind of by accident in like a compilation album that I came across in a music store. and started listening again to like, wait a second, what are they actually saying here in these lyrics? It sounded like super romantic when I was a kid. Like I like dreaming because dreaming can make you mine. And, I'm sitting alone day after day in my lonely room thinking about you. Like, yeah, that's kind of what I did. And like, that's why I didn't really have a girlfriend until like much later in my life. And it's kind of a little on the lighter side, my piece compared to some of the other ones. But it also, I think, reminded me like, looking back, like there's some lessons there that I still had to learn through my own relationships. And it took me a long time to do that. And now maybe I've made some progress in that. I can at least see the fallacy in some of these old lyrics that have come up. So mine, I think, kind of breaks a little bit from most of the pack in terms of like songs that you probably really don't want to listen to again, or if you do, like do it with a little bit of a distance.
Yeah, it was very like tongue in cheek and it was nostalgic and I thought that it like did such a good job of like sort of playfully walking through those lessons, but also talking about like, we talked about this in our podcast the other day, but the impact of music on adolescence and like framing what you know, how you look at relationships or, the advice that we take from that and what we do with that. So, um, your chapter, and it's like smack in the middle of a couple heavy ones. So like when you get to it, I remember like getting to that and it was a nice reprieve.
Right. Yeah.
Right. So thanks for letting me be a part of it. It was very
Yeah.
fun to put those thoughts together and connect some of the dots of my own life through, writing about these songs.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing. All right. We've got
I have
Jeannie.
to say, I really dig the angle, Lewis, of
Oh,
coming at it from these were lessons I learned that I'm almost not entirely sure that they were all that helpful. Yeah.
took a lot
And
of
It's
time to unlearn.
honest. It's honest. I
I'm
like
a
that.
70s child too. I was born in 74, so I remember some of those lessons that just boggle your mind now. Yeah.
Yeah, totally. Totally. Yeah. A lot of unlearning that needs to take place.
Oh,
When that's the formative songs and movies or whatever, like that's a whole nother thing. Like going back and look at movies in the 70s, like, okay, that's not cool. Like
That's a lot.
everybody's laughing at something like, okay, that's you know. But
Yeah. We let our kids watch that. I will do that so many times, but I'm like, oh, I can't wait for my kids to watch this movie. And then we watch it and I'm like,
Why was
what?
I watching that? Yeah, I do that same thing. I'm like, wait, what was it?
But as a kid, I thought it was so
let
great.
that slip by and not like freak out when I saw this, originally.
I listen to some of the songs now and I'm like, oh, no, no, no. It's awful. That's disgusting. And then I'm like, wait, what was I listening to? Oh, it
yeah,
was
right.
worse. It
Yeah.
was worse.
Yeah. I mean,
So
they weren't, the songs, they weren't as coarse then, but like the
I
things,
don't know.
They
some of
still
them weren't.
found ways to
Yeah,
slip
exactly.
in some
Yeah.
real dude.
Sometimes I'm like, wait, what was I listening to?
Yeah.
I thought I was cute
Darling
singing nasty
Nikki. I
songs.
mean, even as a kid, I knew to turn Darling Nikki down when that came on. My mom could handle Purple Rain and When Doves Cry, but there was no way she was going to deal with a sex fiend.
Yours was a tame house. I was a Catholic house and I listened to rap music.
Oh, parochial school was my mom's growing up, but she was always so open and still is to this day so open to music
Hmm.
and has told me countless times it keeps her young and that I've been able to keep her young because I've always been, listening to music and searching for new music. And there's really nothing I won't listen to. I'm with you, Kim. I listen to
Yeah.
rap, I listen to classical, Nat King Cole, Irish music, and I'm
I thought I was
of
going to marry Bing Crosby if it makes you feel any better. Do you know who Bing Crosby is?
course.
When I was a child, I thought I was going to marry him. He had been dead.
Gene
I was
Kelly
a
was
child.
mine. Gene Kelly was mine. So
Yeah, okay.
we were
John
kindred.
Bon Jovi
Yeah.
was mine.
What?
John Bon
what?
Jovi.
Okay, well, he's still alive. Might have been dead, baby.
And
He's been married to the same woman for a
Man,
long time, and I really
I
love
know,
it.
but Bing.
I want to mess that up.
still, he is still on stage. This was 10 years ago. Just as engaging. I got free tickets. I appreciate Bon Jovi. I think living as close as I do to that area and having friends who, I mean, look at me. I have the hair now that works perfectly for John,
It's perfect
right?
for it.
Because I grew up in that era, but that was, I was The Cure and Depeche Mode and Dark and Storm.
Yeah.
And, Bon Jovi was all of the girls with the big hair, and my hair at that point was very, pulled back. Like, I've gone through so many iterations, and I lean heavily toward the neurodiversity I didn't know about, that I was ADHD and autistic. And when you're born in 74, these weren't terms they used for somebody like me. No, I was just hypersensitive, extremely intelligent, quirky and awkward and shy, but very introverted and yet
Extrovert. Yeah.
yes, exactly.
You don't look like that. You would be shy, but I understand it.
I'm extremely extroverted if it's a hyper focus, a topic that I can get deep with you on. Like, let's really dig deep. If you want to talk weather, I'm out cold. So, the realizations that we come to, and we come to them, so many of them, and I know you all know this, through music and through the shared connections between the artists. And then when we come together in capacities like this, whether we're writing songs, whether we're listening to, angry female rock, whether we're playing the most beautiful symphony and conducting it and feeling as if we're connecting to a higher spiritual plane. That's what music is for us. It's a wonderful thing.
That's what I mean, and that's like, I love, the conversation, and that this is something that we can get deep about because it does affect, it's a universal language. It affects all of us. It connects all of us to ourselves, to each other, to source.
It's one of the most beautiful universal languages out there, but all the arts are, and that's the glory in them. It is a way for us to all express, and each and every one of us will understand it in their own way, but it's still a universal expression.
Yeah.
I love that.
Sometimes even with writing songs, you figure out stuff about yourself, or like looking back at things kind of through a different lens, like, it's really interesting. Like, my band went to Nashville a few years ago and we were working on a song, and the producer we were working with, the first day we didn't record a thing. He goes, I want you guys to play the song, and then I want you, and he pointed at me because I'm our singer and lyricist. He goes, I want you to go through every line of this song one by one with all of us. And I said, what? Because no one's ever done that to me before. And he said, I want to know what you felt, and if I can feel that, then anybody else can too. And at the end of that day, my drummer at the time sitting back on a sofa like this, like in the back of the studio, and he goes, we need to ask you what these are about more. And I was, well, okay,
I'd be interested, Scott, because one of the lyric in the song for Skylarking that stood out for me is, my songs don't know that I exist, and though I give them life, it is a friendship that will never grow. Our songs or friends will never know. And like, that line has always been to me like this, just, it's still one I'm unraveling.
Yeah.
The depth of that's like, this man who passed away not months after laying that track down, getting it ready, and starting the tour for it. And you just good stuff. All right, I'm muting.
All right, who's next?
I can go.
Okay.
Hi. My name is Joey Costa, and my song that I picked for this collaboration was I'll Stand By You. And it's been so great listening to you guys because I can really see why energetically anyway, like I ended up in the project, but I was raised in the Bronx and I was raised in the late 70s, 80s. And so every single thing that I listened to all the music and I was listening to hip hop and freestyle but inside my house, my mom listened to like outlaw country and like, you know, 70s ballads. And my father listened to Metallica and AC/DC. And so when I was at his house, we were listening to Cream and Yes. And so I was just like, music. And my grandmother listened to Irish music. Irish music has been mentioned several times here. And like Pat Roper was a record that was on all the time. So when it comes to song, and I'm a songwriter, and I also write rhymes. So I'm all like, oh, like every single one of you have touched on something that is familiar in my own life. But at the time when Michelle was like, hey, I have this idea, I go through themes for seasons, and my theme that I was working with that season was devotion. And so it was sort of just on top of my head and on the tip of my heart. And I had been having multiple deep conversations about what does devotion mean and what does loyalty mean and how does relationships work with yourself and others and everything. So it wasn't even like I had to think about it. Like she was just like, hey, what kind of song would you want? I'm like, this one. This one. And I want to say, and it just felt totally easy and totally inspired and totally timely. And now I think it's going to be really cool because I haven't read it yet. So now it's going to be really cool to go through and see all the other songs and be like, and see how inspired and timely and perfectly for this particular part of my life, this sharing is. But I picked I'll Stand By You because it was, it was like if I closed my eyes and I thought about a song and I was going through anything hard, I would see that video and I would hear that song. And ironically, I teach a practice of like non-nostalgia, right? Like I spent many, many years unraveling conditioning and unraveling nostalgia. And as somebody else mentioned, and I can't remember who it was, the song in the beginning was sort of an influence into how I was supposed to love, right? And then it morphed into how I wanted to be loved. And then it like deep dived into like how toxic, unconditional loyalty is. And then it just sort of looped around to divine love and unconditional love, like, which was sort of the energy underneath the whole song the whole time, right? But as we progress, the song hits us differently. And I don't know, it was just a great experience and I was really happy to be part of it. And it was just one of those things where it was like I wrote it and then so much has been going on in my life. And I would just get these random emails of edits and it was like, and I'm like, oh yeah, that's still happening. Like, and then I was doing something yesterday and I saw the reminder that I put in my phone and I was like, oh my God, it's here. And then I downloaded the digital copy and was kind of, scrolling through it. And just like everything else in my life, it's kind of like I'm part of something before I know it. And then I'm like, oh my God, I'm part of this thing. you know, like how did that happen? But anyway, so it's really nice to meet you all and hear your stories. And I'm super excited to read the rest of it. But definitely that song was like an anthem for like hard love and just like going through hell with people, and because it was something I maybe eroticized or fantasized or looked up to or idolized, right? I went through some really dark spaces with lots of people, and I don't regret any of it at all. I think it really made my perspective wider than it would have been had I not done that. But I'm just so happy to be past that ride or die, drag me through the mud mentality for love. So,
And I have to say, reading your chapter at the time in my life when I was going through what I was going through in my relationships, like, I mean, I remember like tearing up reading that and feeling so seen because of my ability to sort of, over empathize, overextend, caretake, in the name of like unconditionally loving someone. And like you said, like you idolize that, like you want to be that, I want to be love in the world. And so, finding that devotion, like I feel like that's where I'm at now. It's like my word for this year, because I have like the word for the year, right? For me, it's like liberation. And that like is part of that for me, like that devotion to myself and loving myself. I'm so excited for people to read your chapter because I mean I love that song already, but you took it to a different place. And I love that.
I'm just so thankful. And I can't wait to have a longer discussion and just go off on all sorts of tangents. So
Yes. Yeah, we'll have to set up an interview and we'll talk more about in depth in your chapter.
I love that the headphones have worked perfectly.
Yes.
In her face, it's so
Yes.
cute.
I was
It
like,
makes
I love
me
that
cute.
background.
so happy. You have no
I had to move.
idea.
My phone was dying, and she looks cute. That was smart.
these are before I mute myself, these are a series of pictures that I made to go with a hashtag called emancipated hamsters. Like
Oh,
get off the wheel basically and take the wheel,
Yes.
Yeah.
get off the wheel and take the wheel. But this
I
was
love
my
that.
favorite.
I love
cute.
it.
My favorite
That
one.
It's cute.
That
Perfect.
one's heaven to me. I love it. Rainbow unicorn hamster with headphones. It's perfect.
All right. Well, we've got Jeannie and Lana.
Love that imagery and the message with your hamster. So thanks for that. And thank you, everyone. Thank you so much for the collaboration, your vulnerability, and of course to Michelle for holding this space for all of us on this journey. Pretty exciting stuff. Hi, my name's Jean, and the song that I chose for this volume of Mixtape Memories was John Denver's Rocky Mountain High. And many reasons for that. But it all probably started back in 1984 when our family hopped in the Oldsmobile Cutlass station wagon and drove cross country out west. And our family had the foresight to bring along our General Electric cassette tape player because there were no cassette players or anything in the station wagon. And fortunately, one of the cassettes we had was John Denver's Greatest Hits. And we drove out west, camping along the way, having a lovely summer as a family. And I do remember clearly showing up in the Rocky Mountains and hearing that song. And it's taken on, we talk a little bit about this whole tapestry of life and the threads that kind of follow us through and make these images in our minds. And John Denver's song certainly has done that for me. And so just being in the Rocky Mountains, hearing that music, knowing what, like, he really does a better job than I ever could, very honestly, expressing what just kind of looking at that alpine lake, staring up at the mountains, just the connection with nature, even the imagery of a mountain and like the struggles that you face and like these mountains that we have to climb in life, and how music is a great asset to us to help navigate those things as well as nature, and how they can combine to be even more powerful. And so it started with that, but then this song has really played in the soundtrack of my own life, very honestly. And one of my next trips out west again was not as happy as it was the first time, because we were going to pick up my brother's cremated remains, because he had passed unexpectedly. And I had a layover in Denver airport, and as if my brother shuffled it on my playlist himself, so came on the song as we flew over sunset of the Rocky Mountains. And yeah, I mean, I get goosebumps every time I think about it. I'm getting them right now as I speak about it. And so for me, this song, is really part of the journey that I've been on. Yes, to different places, but also like inwardly to different places. And I think that's the beauty of what song and music can do, and the lyricists and the musicians that we have the blessing to be able to hear and experience. And so this is just an opportunity to help me on that journey also, to process those feelings, those emotions, this mountain that I've had to climb as it relates to the loss of a dear loved one. And then just all the things that come with, again, the lyrics, the story, and the song itself. And so I have no doubt that this song will continue to be part of the soundtrack of my life. And I'm really honored to have been able to have had the space to be able to share. So again, my gratitude to Michelle and for all of you, because this wouldn't have been possible without all of us, I think, coming together to take the time and the energy to go inward and to be able to share then also. So thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, like I said, I feel like everybody like really went there and like really brought it like from some sort of heart space. Like there's something in this for everyone, I mean, there were like, again, like reading the stories, and yours was one where, you do like you go on the journey with you, and you're so like the way that you have this beautiful way of describing the scenery. So I like really felt it. Like I felt like I went there, with you. And I think that people like that's the thing that will come through when people read this. Like I feel like they're gonna go on that journey too. I wish that I could have included, because I remember you had shared some photos, and I was like, how do I get these in there? And I sat with it for a little while, and then I finally ended up taking them out. But they did, like, for me, they really did add to the story and the scenery, and it was beautiful.
No photos required. Your own imagery works.
All right, Lana.
Yeah. Okay, can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay. Wow. Sorry I was late. It's going through a bit of some things right now with my husband's health. But anyways, yeah, thank you all for sharing your beautiful stories and songs and what they mean. And I had a really hard time narrowing it down to one song, because music has been such a major part of my life since I was in my mother's womb, because she was a professional musician. And then I became a professional singer, and music's always played a very active part in my life. And in sound school, it's funny because somebody will say something and I can think of a song just like that. It either has that line in it or it refers to that. I mean, it's constant. So, anyways, it was funny how I chose the song. I was thinking of all these different songs that had such meaning to me, and I was like, well, I've narrowed it down to about 50. So I was sitting there and I said out loud, well, anyway. And I was like, anyway, I hadn't even thought of that song. So it was like, it just dropped in. And so I listened to it again for, the 90th time. And it was like, yeah, that's the song. Because I also wanted it to speak to other people and something that would encourage people, no matter what they're going through, or where they are. And I'm not a big country music fan. I love all kinds of music if it's good, and I am very picky and discriminatory as to what is good. And but Martina McBride's voice, with her power and her range, and the conviction that she delivered that song with, and then the words, and she collaborated with another writer to write that song. But I thought, yeah, because when I was going through my divorce 23 years ago, it was, the line, and I get choked up every time I say this, but the line about you can love someone with all your heart, and then in a moment they can choose to turn and walk away, but love them anyway. And then there's the line about you can spend your whole life dreaming and you build something, and in a moment it turns to dust, it goes away. Build it anyway, or do it again anyway. And there's a line in there, is it God is good, God is great, but sometimes things don't turn out the way we think they should. Do it anyway. Do it anyway. Do it for you. And I have found that those words come to me a lot of times when I'm discouraged, and it's like, Lana, do it anyway. Do it anyway. Walk by faith. Do it anyway. And those three little words contain a lot of power. And so that's why I finally was able to, narrow it down to that song. And that was the one I decided to put in there because no matter what, we always have free will and choice. And for me, that was a big lesson. I remember when I started psychotherapy many years ago, and one of the most profound things that the therapist said to me was, you have choice. And I was like, oh. Now, I think people raised in a more normal home and didn't have such trauma and all that, they would know that. Well, I don't have to do that. I can do this, or I could do that. But it was like, this amazing revelation. There I was, in my 40s. And I had a choice. And I could choose to walk away, or I could do it anyway. And so that's why I chose that song. And, I'm really honored to be a part of this project. And I'm looking forward to reading the book. I didn't get mine yet, so I'm
They're on the way.
I know.
It felt so good. It's been so nice, just like doing that fulfillment process, getting everybody's books together. I know I still have a couple to get out for people. I was really trying to I had a few pre-orders. So, getting all of them out.
I'll have to
yeah.
get money to you, so because I definitely want.
Yeah. But Lana, and I really appreciated you adding that. So first of all, I love Martina McBride. She's an amazing singer, songwriter. Um, some of her songs, oh my gosh, like Independence Day. I
Oh
remember
yeah.
like yeah, like
Wow. Oof.
she's so powerful. I mean, that whole album. Is that I don't know if if that's the album or if it's the greatest hits that I have, but she's just time and again like it would be hard for me to choose a favorite of her songs because they're so deeply impactful in different ways.
Mm.
Um, but that one in particular, I read that and I was like, I smiled because I feel like it's exactly the kind of message that like collectively we need to be hearing right now. So I do hope that when people read that, and they read like, and how you worded it was so beautiful and just so simply put, like, love them anyway, you
Mhm.
know? So yeah.
Yeah.
I don't recall the name offhand, but the New Radicals song
You
that
get what you give. Oh
yes,
my
you get
God.
what you. I
Yeah,
was so thrilled to see that that one was one of the songs
same,
in
same.
here as well. And I mean, there,
Honorable mention to Jen. Yeah.
like, uh, everybody here, even if it's one I've not heard, I cannot wait to dive in and hear them myself because I know any song, and I don't know about the rest of you, but I dread lists. When anybody asks me to compose a list of your top whatever, and I'm like, yeah, I don't do top tens. I do top 50s. I do top hundreds. And then I have like the 30 that are honorable mentions that I can maybe narrow it down to. So it's so hard for me, but I I know that these songs are those songs for you. So to be able to read where and how they touched you and then to know that we're going to have the lighter side with Louis that still delves into such great angles of maybe we don't always need to take the music or the lyrics so seriously and that then gets me thinking about why are we so serious in this world? Why is there such a need for cancel culture? Why can't we all be more accepting, open, and understanding? It just, once again, you can really take a dive into the deep end, and that's the beauty of music and
I
connection.
do think music, I was going to say, music is a great way to explore all of that.
Exactly.
Yeah,
It's
like
my connection.
it's a beautiful place to evoke emotion, to have connection, to express, to be creative, to let it out, So, yeah. Well, I appreciate you all being here with me. Thank you for being on, board with this. Like, I know that I just kind of put it out there. For some of you, I was just some random person on the internet, but I appreciate, the process and being able to, I mean, for me, like putting this together, this was just like an idea, like a book of songs. I want to do this. I don't really know what that means. Oh, it'd be cool if other people did it too. But really, like being able to read your chapters, offer, thank you for letting me offer constructive feedback, and helping to shape them. And, I think we all like try to do due diligence to fair use, laws and all of that. Like I think, just the whole process was like a really cool, beautifully collaborative experience. And for me, like in kind of dreaming this up and bringing this out, like I don't think that it could have gone any better. It's exactly what I would have wanted it to be. So I'm so honored to be here and do this with you. Like you all helped me bring this to life.
Thank you for letting us be a part of it.
Thank
Thank
you
you.
so much.
So I'm excited for all of you to get your copies. If you have not heard from me about sending them out, maybe check in. Because I have, I do have them here and I'll send them out. I'm going to try and get all of the author copies out this week. all of the pre-orders have already been fulfilled. And now they're available on Amazon, so I don't have to send them out unless anybody wants a signed copy. So yeah, people can find them on Amazon. They're available on ebook and Kindle, and whatever other platforms become available, we'll talk about that too. So
Thank you for doing all of that.
Thank you.
Yes,
And
thank you.
you'll hear more about us. Like I'm gonna continue to do the mixtape series on my podcast, all the things, and just doing like author interviews. And I expect to do that through the summer, just to kind of have this series. I have lots of ideas for encouraging, like I have this idea for like a group, like a public playlist, where people can participate in that and be a part of that. Because my God, like how many cool songs can we come up with
Modify
together
that.
collectively? So like I have little ideas that I'm gonna drip out there, but like I'm trying to do the one thing at a time. So getting the book launch, getting here was a big accomplishment. And then, just kind of rolling out with it through the rest of the summer. And then I'm hoping to do a in-person, like kind of book gathering, signing,
I'd
something.
love to do that. That sounds fun.
So look for more details on that coming probably October, I'm thinking. So let's get through the summer and then see where we end up in the fall.
Sounds good.
Out here in the fall too.
Well, thank you all, and everybody that's joining, thank you for being here. Please, like and share, and we just appreciate your support. And if you have picked up a copy, I would love to hear your feedback. I think there's something in this book for everyone. So
thank you so much. Nice to meet y'all.
Thanks. Nice to meet everybody.
Everyone.
Good
Thank you,
night.
everyone.
Good night.
Thanks for joining me for this episode of All the Things.